Hey everyone, it's Arav here, and today we're diving into a topic absolutely critical for any aspiring entrepreneur: how startups strategically figure out where to launch their products first. Because here's the deal: the cold, hard truth of starting a business. When you're just beginning, you simply cannot target everyone. You've got incredibly limited money, finite time, and a finite amount of energy. So, how on earth do you decide who to go after first? This is where the powerful idea of a focal market and a fascinating concept from marketing called the market S-curve come into play. Let's unwrap this essential strategy piece by piece. Imagine trying to light a roaring bonfire. You wouldn't just scatter matches randomly across a huge pile of wood and hope for the best, right? No, you'd gather a small handful of kindling, focus all your energy on getting just one tiny ember glowing, and then carefully nurture that single flame until it's strong enough to spread. Startups are exactly like that tiny ember. You aren't like giant corporations, your Googles, your Apples, who have literally millions, sometimes even billions of dollars to burn on massive ad campaigns or years of time to test out a dozen different markets simultaneously. You simply don't have that luxury. You need to focus every ounce of your limited resources with laser precision. That's why you absolutely need a focal market. This isn't just any group of people. It's a small, incredibly specific, and highly receptive group of individuals who are most likely to care about your product right now. They're the kindling for your bonfire. They're the people who are suffering the most from the problem you're solving or who are most excited by the unique solution you're offering. Without this sharp focus, your efforts get diluted, your message becomes generic, and your limited capital evaporates before you can build any real momentum. You need to identify precisely who your first most enthusiastic customers will be. To find this elusive focal market, we turn to a brilliant tool widely used in social science, economics, and marketing called the market S curve, often referred to as the diffusion of innovations curve. Imagine a graph with the horizontal x-axis represents time and the vertical y-axis represents the number of people using your product or adopting a new technology. When you plot how a new idea spreads, it doesn't just shoot straight up. It forms a distinct S shape. It starts incredibly slow, then picks up rapidly, then grows fast, and finally flattens out as almost everyone who will adopt it has. What makes this curve so powerful is that it categorizes different types of customers who adopt new technologies at different points along this S-shaped journey. Understanding these groups is crucial. Number one, innovators, the tech enthusiasts, 2.5%. These are the true pioneers. Think of them as the tech nerds, the trendsetters, and the early experimenters. They'll try anything first, often just for the sheer fun of it, for the novelty, or for the intellectual challenge of playing with something new. They stand in line for the latest gadget, download beta software, and love discovering what's next. They're curious and daring, but they're a very small percentage of the total market. Number two, early adopters, the visionaries, 13.5%. These folks are a bit more practical than innovators. They aren't just trying things for fun, they're actively looking for a genuine edge or a significant solution to a problem. They are often opinion leaders in their social circles or industries. They're willing to take a calculated risk on a new product if it promises to save them money, make their work faster, boost their productivity, or help them compete more effectively. They're seeking a competitive advantage and they're willing to overlook a few rough edges for that benefit. Early majority, the pragmatists, 34%. This is where the product truly starts to go mainstream. These customers are pragmatic and risk averse. They need proof that your product works, that it's reliable, and that it has real tangible benefits. They listen to what the early adopters say, read reviews, and wait for social proof before they commit. They're not the first movers, but they're willing to embrace new solutions once they see them proven. They represent a significant portion of the market. Late majority, the skeptics, 34%. These individuals are highly skeptical of anything new. They often wait until everyone else is using a product and it has become the undeniable standard. They adopt primarily due to peer pressure, a sense of necessity, or if the older alternatives simply become unavailable or too inconvenient. They're highly price sensitive and demand extreme ease of use. Laggards, the traditionalists, 16%. These are the most resistant to change. They only switch to new technologies when they literally have no other choice. When their old way of doing things becomes completely obsolete or unsupported. They prefer tradition and established methods. Understanding these distinct groups is absolutely vital for a startup. Because who you target first determines how you build your product and how you communicate your value. You might think, aha, I'll just get those innovators. They're curious, they try things first, they're easy to reach initially. And yes, you might get some initial buzz and downloads from them. But here's the crucial catch. The fundamental truth that many startups miss is that innovators are not loyal. They're driven by novelty. They might download your app today, use it once or twice, and then abandon it tomorrow for something even newer. They rarely provide consistent revenue or stick around long enough to become true advocates. They're more like tourists passing through. Early adopters, though, are a completely different breed. They're your gold mine. These are the customers you truly want as your first real customers. Why, you may ask? Because they adopt your product not for fun, but because it solves a deep, personal or professional problem they genuinely care about. If your idea gives them a clear, measurable advantage, like saving them significant money, making their work process dramatically faster, improving their competitive edge, or solving a major headache, they will not only stick with it, but they will become your most passionate evangelists. They'll tell their friends, their colleagues, and anyone who will listen. They're willing to work with you through imperfections because the solution is so valuable. They're your first true believers, your foundation, and your most valuable source of honest feedback. Now, here's the scary part, the silent killer of thousands of promising startups. Between the early adopters and the early majority, there's a massive, treacherous gap, a metaphorical canyon called the Chasm. This concept was popularized by Geoffrey Moore in his book Crossing the Chasm, and it's arguably the most critical obstacle a startup faces. Startups often fall into this chasm because they fail to change their strategies as they attempt to move from one customer segment to the next. See, early adopters are quite tolerant. They love being beta testers. They thrive on new features and they're excited to give direct feedback. They expect your product to be a bit tough around the edges, but they're okay with it. The early majority, on the other hand, are fundamentally different. They're pragmatists. They don't want to be beta testers. They demand stability, reliability, ease of use, and a complete whole product experience. They expect polished packaging, intuitive onboarding, robust customer support, clear return policies, proven testimonials, and a strong reputation. All the boring stuff that makes a product trustworthy and risk-free. If your startup continues to only focus on pushing out fun new features for your tech-savvy early users and ignores the critical work of building trust, polishing the user experience, providing solid support, and creating clear mainstream focused marketing messages, you will never get past the chasm. You will be stuck in the early market, unable to reach the vast majority of paying customers. And eventually, you'll run out of money. This is where the countless brilliant ideas wither and die. Successfully crossing the chasm requires a fundamental shift in mindset and strategy. So, given the S curve and the chasm, how do you pick the absolute right first market to target? What's often called your beachhead market. This is your initial focus attack point where you can establish a strong, undeniable presence. Josh Gans and Scott Stern, prominent thinkers in entrepreneurship, wisely advise a critical approach. Don't just pick one at random. Try 2 or 3 potential beachheads and then ruthlessly pick one that gives you the best strategic advantage. But make sure your chosen beachhead market fulfills a few vital criteria. Number 1, it teaches you something useful. Your initial market should be a learning laboratory. Does engaging with this specific group of customers provide you with invaluable insights into their deeper needs, pricing sensitivity, or how your product needs to evolve? This learning is more valuable than immediate revenue. Number 2, it can help you attract more customers later. Your beachhead should ideally have a clear path to expansion. Success in this initial market should serve as a powerful testimonial or a stepping stone to naturally attract the next larger customer segment. Example, from early adopters to the early majority. Number 3, it fits with your long-term strategy. Your initial target market shouldn't be a random detour. It needs to align with your grand vision for the company. You don't want to sell complex engineering software to aerospace engineers one day and then try to pivot to selling simple mobile games to kindergartners the next. That just confuses everyone, your team, your investors, and most importantly, your potential customers. Your brand message will be diluted and your growth trajectory will become unsustainable. Your strategic entry point, how you approach the market with your product, depends entirely on who you're targeting on that S curve. Number 1, targeting innovators/early adopters. If you're going after the tech enthusiasts and visionaries, it's perfectly okay to launch with a rough, imperfect, minimal viable product, MVP. They expect it. They embrace the flaws and they love giving feedback. Your focus should be on the raw functionality and solving a core problem, even if it's not pretty. Targeting the early majority. Once you're aiming for the pragmatists, your product must be polished, reliable, and proven. You need testimonials, case studies, robust customer support, and clear mainstream friendly marketing. They need to see that others like them are already using it successfully. Targeting the late majority. For these skeptical, price sensitive customers, your product needs to be incredibly simple, highly affordable, and integrate seamlessly into their existing habits with minimal disruption. They don't want to learn new tricks, they just want a better, cheaper, or easier way to do what they already do. So, if you're working on your own startup idea, whether it's a groundbreaking new app, a clever gadget, a unique service, or a community initiative, remember this vital lesson. Don't try to win over the whole world at once. That's a recipe for burnout and failure. Instead, start small, pick the right first customers, your early adopters, with laser focus. Use the market S curve as your compass to understand who's ready for what you're building and how to speak their language. By being strategic with your entry point, you dramatically increase your chances of not just surviving but thriving. If you found this breakdown helpful and insightful, please do me a favor, drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button to join our entrepreneurial community, and share it with someone who's dreaming of launching their own venture. I've got more startup strategy tips and deep dives coming soon. Catch you next time. Thank you.